The opinions and views expressed here solely belong to the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of the Department of Defense, DoD, or its components. Any mention of commercial products or services does not imply DoD endorsement. Additionally, the presence of external hyperlinks does not signify DoD's approval of the linked websites or their contents, products, or services. IAW, all now 24/25. Names and ship names changed for privacy and storytelling.
Hey guys, I'm Buddy. I'm an active duty CSS2, and somehow I got stuck doing this instead of meal prep. I didn't ask for the drama, but if I'm here, I'm telling it exactly like I see it.
Hey y'all, I'm Chantel, the Navy spouse who married into this mess. I absolutely hate drama, but unfortunately, the drama loves me. I've lived through the deployments, clocked the scandals, and honey, I definitely saved those receipts. If it's messy, I've got the full timeline.
Welcome aboard. I'm Danny, your trans troublemaker, chaos creator, and scandal-stained storyteller. With a flair for the forbidden, if it happened behind closed hatches or under the cover of night, I'm dragging it straight into the light.
And this is...
Deployed the drama.
Let's get started. They don't wear a uniform, but they sure act like they outrank half the command. Today's episode, we're talking about Dependas with delusions of rank. Buckle up.
Welcome back, winos. You already know what time it is. I pour until my ancestors tell me to stop, and that's why I end up drinking the whole bottle.
And today's bottle is perfectly petty. We're sipping on a bold red command Cabernet. Full-bodied, aggressive, and definitely going straight to somebody's head.
Ooh, it goes down smooth and leaves a bitter aftertaste. Just like Kirsten. Let's talk about her. This one's called Miss Right Behind the CO.
Let me grab my glass and my boundaries because I already know she crossed both.
So, picture this. Kristen, proud Navy wife, and her husband's about to go up for E8. Great, right? Except she suddenly thinks that makes her a ranking member of the command. She starts showing up to events like, "Hi, I'm Miss Senior Chief so-and-so," and correcting sailors for not saluting her. Kristen becomes admin of the spouse page and turns it into her own little dictatorship. Deletes posts she doesn't like, blocks people for disrespect, and calls herself the voice of experienced spouses, like it's a freaking rank.
No, ma'am. This is the community page, not quarterdeck.
She goes full power trip. Post an announcement like FRG meeting tomorrow, attendance required for all junior spouses, and says failure to attend will be noted. Like, noted where, girl? Your imaginary sprint sheet?
Listen, the only thing I'm required to attend is the happy hour.
One sweet young wife claps back like, this is a volunteer page, not command. Kristen replies with a whole paragraph about respecting senior spouses and how some of you need to learn your place.
Her place is at the base gate, turning herself around.
Then her husband doesn't even get E8, and she posts an emotional declaration like, "This command never supported us. Toxic leadership, favoritism, disrespect. Baby,
That post probably had 16 reactions and 57 screenshots.
Command finally steps in and tells her to step down from the spouse board. Guess what? She refuses. Her words were, I am the FRG. Like she's defending a throne.
People like this really irritate me. Because, wearing your husband's rank is super fucking annoying. Granted, I don't know if this is a surface spouse or a sub spouse, which I really hope it's a surface spouse and not a sub spouse. Because if it was a sub spouse, us sub guys really don't give a fuck about your spouse. I don't give a fuck what your rank is.
But there are plenty of sub wives that use their husband's rank.
Yeah,
So quite a few.
I just don't run into him because that shit irritates the fuck out of me. Like, nah, bitch, you're a fucking Dependa. Sit down. Like, walk away.
I'm sorry, is she applying for captain or auditioning for a base version of Game of Thrones?
They removed her, banned her from all base events for a whole year. And now she's on social media talking about jealousy ruins community.
Nobu, control issues ruin communities.
So the lesson is your husband's promotion doesn't make you a petty officer too.
Facts.
And if you get control of a Facebook page to feel powerful, you don't need command. You need counseling.
Well, you need more than counseling.
One more time for the wine aisle. I pour until my ancestors tell me to stop, and apparently they were on Kristen's block list. One thing about these base wives, they'll find a way to assign themselves rank and a whole chain of command that just doesn't exist.
And some of them really think their dependent ID is a golden ticket to power. So you already know what time it is.
That's right.
But don't go far.
Now that the chatter's settled, it's time to dive deeper under the surface of Navy life. There are stories most people never heard of, the ones wrapped in silence, secrets, and sometimes scandal. This is Beneath the Wave, and tonight, we're not just telling stories. Every silence hides a story. Every ripple hides a storm. And the deeper you go, the darker it gets. Tonight, we're going beneath the wave, where some stories don't interrupt in headlines or front page scandals. They creep in quietly, whispered in group chats, exchanged in parking lots, buried in command hallways. They don't start with violence, but with silence, with ego, with a title someone never earned but tried to wear anyways. That's where this story begins. Petty Officer First Class James Tadley had done everything by the book. 15 years in, no NJPs, no lost quals, respected by his division. He wasn't flashy, he was focused, and this year, he was up for chief. His wife, Melissa, had been by his side since his second enlistment. She showed up to events, brought cookies to the FRG, knew the acronyms and lingo. She was the one who helped the new wives figure out TRICARE, the movers, deployment schedules, and for a while, she was helpful. But over time, that helpfulness turned into authority. She began introducing herself as Miss First Class Tally, correcting sailors at the gate, telling junior spouses they needed to show respect for those who've been here longer, and people let it slide because she was just being proud. Then the messages started. One sailor, a 19-year-old E2, received a Facebook DM from Melissa after posting a meme in the barracks group chat. She called it disrespectful to senior spouses and told him to report early to duty to show accountability. The sailor, confused, asked who she was. Her response: ask your LPO about the chain of command and learn where you stand. He screenshotted it and took it straight to his chain. What followed was a command investigation no one expected. Turns out, Melissa had been using her husband's deactivated Navy email, one from a previous command, to send out fake meeting notes, invent dress code rules, and even circulate a junior spouse etiquette's guide with a command's logo photoshopped on top. Worse, some spouses had followed it. Others were too scared not to. When James found out what Melissa had done, he was stunned. This was the woman who helped him build his career, but her actions had now put that career in jeopardy. The command couldn't prove he had known, but the damage was already done. It was a black eye for the leadership. He was pulled from the chief's board, issued a letter of caution, quietly transferred to a low visibility billet. His once steady path to khakis gone. Melissa, meanwhile, was banned from base, flagged in DEERS, and removed from every spouse's group and publicly outed in an FRG email from the ombudsman with just 4 chilling words: unauthorized impersonation of authority. Within months, their marriage unraveled quietly, bitterly, just like everything else. What makes this story hit different is how avoidable it was. Melissa didn't set out to sabotage anyone. She thought she was helping, supporting, defending her husband's name. But the truth is, support isn't about control and pride. When left unchecked, turns into entitlement, the kind that gets people hurt. In the military world, we talk about force multipliers, spouses who help strengthen the mission from the outside. But when that support turns into obsession, where the dependent ID becomes a power trip, that multiplier becomes a threat to careers, to reputations, to entire units. There's a line between being proud of your spouse and trying to wear their rank. And once you cross it, there's no going back. Melissa thought she was protecting a future, but in the end, she wrote the final chapter of it. This was Beneath the Wave. And remember, not every storm is loud. Some of them wear heels and carry clipboards. Some truths stay buried for a reason, but not here, because on this podcast, we don't sweep it under the rug. We deploy the drama, from milsos with main character syndrome to sailors caught in the fallout, to stories that never made it past the mess decks. This episode was a reminder: just because you wear the ring doesn't mean you wear the rank. Some truths stayed buried for a reason, but not here. Because on this podcast, we don't sweep it under the rug. We deploy the drama. Whether you're serving, supporting, or sipping from the sidelines, just remember this life isn't always polished. It's raw, it's chaotic, and sometimes it's downright messy. That's why we're here to tell it all, spill it all, and keep it a little too real. Thanks for diving beneath the wave. Up next, a little bit of bullshit or barracks.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Bullshit or Barracks, the part of the show where we call out the wildest things people say on base and decide if it's maybe facts or just spouse fiction. And today, we're talking about the self-appointed Miss Command. You know who you are.
Okay, guys. Let's get started. We have only 5 this episode. Okay, that's for episode 5.
Okay, makes sense.
So,
Hot for 5, baby.
yes.
Apple pie.
So, is it bullshit or barracks? She made her husband's junior sailor mow their lawn every Saturday as extra duty.
Barracks.
Barracks. Actually, it's bullshit.
Bad jokes.
Unless she's got a logbook and access to NSIPS. How should I say it like that?
NSIPS.
Unless she has access to
NSIPS.
NSIPS, she needs to sit down and let the boy rest on Saturday.
Facts.
Okay.
Which NSIP stands for Naval Personal Intrapersonal System.
Okay.
You can add that in there if you want to.
But it's going to stay in there because I had no idea what that was. And I said I was going to ask Buddy. So I'm going to ask Buddy what this means.
Question number 2.
She introduced herself at the FRG meeting as Mrs. First Class Martinez. But you can't call me ma'am.
Barracks.
That's barracks. A lot of spouses do that.
Yeah, barracks.
A lot of spouses do that.
Unfortunately, this is definitely happens. And spouses really believe they inherit that rank. It is cringy. It's petty and 100% barracks behavior.
It's okay. I tell my wife all the time, she ever uses my rank for anything other than to call me, we have issues.
Hell no. I'm not going to use your fucking rank for nothing. I am not a goddamn dependa. That is dependa behavior right there.
Say it.
I wear my husband's rank. No, the fuck you don't. You didn't earn that shit. Your husband earned that. You be proud of your husband. Or your spouse.
She demanded a front row parking space at the command event because her husband is the one running things.
Barracks.
Bullshit.
Barracks. Front row assist. You better be parallel parking with that entitlement.
First off, all you fucking Dependas out there, I am trying to have your motherfucking backs and y'all are proving me fucking wrong. God damn it.
It is a real story. Some spouses treat military functions like red carpets. And
They really do.
like, girl, it's just a Halloween party.
Command parties is where it's worse.
I know an ombudsman who does the same thing. She thinks her shit doesn't stink, like her shit doesn't stink, and fucking basically the whole world revolves around this fucking person, and she's godly untouchable type shit. It's a red carpet for her every single fucking time she walks out her goddamn front door.
With that haircut, she needs to be in the trash. Anyways, I hope we're talking about the same person.
Oh, we are. Wait, are we thinking about Peter Pettigrew?
Who?
Peter Pettigrew?
Yes.
Okay, she's Peter Pettigrew because her teeth are so close. Yeah, she looks like the rat off of Harry Potter.
Anyways, that's why I brought up the Halloween thing. She emailed the command of Bunzman to ask why her husband's eval was lower than someone else's.
Barracks.
Bullshit.
It is bullshit. It's a total overstep. I mean, come on, what are you gonna send an email for?
Some wives do that though.
It ain't gonna do shit. It's just gonna piss off the command.
Even the most extra spouses wouldn't have access to eval records. So it's like,
It's not 100% fact either. Everyone is given a copy of their eval for our own personal records.
your own personal record.
Yeah, but our wives have access to our personal records. So they get to see it too. That's how Sean knows how mine are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, the Budmans shouldn't have access to that anymore. So they would shut that down real quick.
Yeah.
She made a brand new spouse cry in the Milso group chat for not standing when a chief's wife entered the room.
Barracks.
That is barracks.
It is barracks. Unless she walked in with anchors on her ankles, nobody owes her a standing ovation.
Fucking facts.
Yeah, no. Then what, Chiefs, they earn their shit, but at the same time, they're not worth standing up for. We only stand up for officers, and they gotta be high enough.
You know, some groups have that, a lot of those Milso groups have that toxic, power-hungry, energy wife vibes, and it's just like,
Again, let the some guys have them and be alright. Alright, that's a wrap on bullshit or berries. Centerville are out here writing imaginary regulations, and I'm just here to stamp them with a big old BS. But now it's time to switch gears, because this scuttlebutt ain't gossip. It's straight from the source.
our favorite sailor/chaos correspondent is clocking in. Buddy's got stories, interviews, and behind-the-scenes dirt from life in uniform. And trust me, this week's Spellbud is messier than a Chiefs group chat.
Alright, let's set the record straight. Just because you married into the military does not mean you enlisted. Today we're digging into what spouses are actually entitled to and what they're not, and how that entitlement sometimes turns into a whole ass command crisis. So we're gonna go with the real rights and delusions real quick, because there's a lot of military spouses who are delusional on what they actually are allowed to do.
You preaching to the right crowd.
Oh, I know.
Because I can name quite a few Delulu spouses.
Not,
And I'm going to
yes,
Peter Pettigrew.
we know a few, yes.
Peter Pettigrew being one of them.
So one of the things that military spouses have access to is to base. Granted, yes, your military ID can get you onto base, but it cannot get you into a lot of the buildings because you do not have the access. You have clearance to get on base, but not clearance to get into some of the buildings.
Like you can get into like the necks and the commissary.
Yes, those you can get into. You can also get into Deers. You can go to Fleet and Family, Navy, Marine Corps. But you don't have access to like our admin building unless you are escorted. You don't have access to any of the training commands unless you are escorted or an ombudsman with access. You also don't have access to, on submarine bases, we have lower base, which on surface bases would be considered the pier. And with the pier, you have to have escort access. When it comes to submarine bases, lower base, you have to have escort access. It's not a you might, it's a you have to. Because we have a lot of stuff down there that nobody needs to know that we have down there.
Drugs.
No, we don't have drugs down there, but we do have things that are very highly classified. They're on a need to know basis, and military spouses don't need to know. Unless they're privileged to know. But even then, it's not a need, it's a privilege. You fuck it up, you lose that need.
But I feel like if they were privileged just because the spouse is also a
little shady and told them.
Well, no, like they're both in there together.
I mean, if they're both in the service together, obviously they're going to have access. Because they're both in the military. But the moment you get out and you get that veteran ID, which is another thing that I will probably bring up today because that shit annoys the fuck out of me. But if you have a veteran ID, that you lost all access to lower base unless you are a civilian contractor and you have to go through the same process as everybody else who is a civilian contractor. 98.8% of them have to be escorted everywhere they go because they cannot get a clearance high enough. Since I brought up Deers, Deers is where we go in to get our ID cards. Yes, a dependent and their children can go in and get their own ID cards. However, most of the time they kind of wait until the service member needs theirs because yours doesn't expire until ours does.
Well, and on top of that, most of the time, kids under the age of 16 do not get their own ID card unless it's for like certain purposes. Like our kids have them just because, there are times when Minnie and Papa come down and their aunts, their uncles, and like we'll go out and have a date night or a date day and they'll have to go on base for like the next or something like that.
Black commissary.
Yeah. So like our kids have them and, they're under the age of 16. But normally children only get IDs if they're 16.
Which, granted, with that, one of the new NAV admins that came out, parents of the sailor or the spouse are no longer allowed to take the child with their ID on base without a day pass. They have to have a day pass, which a day pass, if you don't know what that is for, it is signed out by the service member, and it is basically stating that you are in charge of that person and 110% reliable for everything they do on base. So if that person gets in a car accident and you're out on a date day with your spouse, you're getting a fucking phone call because you are reliable for that person. You have to pay for all damages done. And if it's a felony, you have to report for that. The service member won't get in trouble for the felony, but you definitely will probably go to captain's mast if you're in the Navy, just because you allowed said person to go on base without you.
Interesting.
Now, what comes along with Deers?
So Deers gives you your beneficiary ID number, which is your ID number for medical, dental, eye care. It is how TRICARE tracks what you are doing, how you are doing it, how much you're spending, whether or not they're going to fucking pay for it or not. There's a lot of procedures out there that spouses cannot get.
Now,
It's not covered.
Now, I will say, for us personally, I know that some spouses are different. Some spouses prefer TRICARE Select. We like TRICARE Prime. We don't have to pay any copays, anything like that. All my medical is covered. The only thing with Prime is they cover for eyes. They cover your eye exam, but you have to pay for your glasses. They cover your dental exam and up to a certain amount for if you have cavities, and then you have to pay the rest. Now with Select, you have a copay every single time you go to the doctor, every single time you go see an eye doctor, every single time you go see a dentist. You always have Select. The only good thing about Select or TRICARE Select is you get to choose your doctor. But you can do that with TRICARE Prime as well. They'll give you a PCM, and then they will be like, if you go in there and they make you feel uncomfortable, if you don't like them, whatever it is, you call Prime and you're like, find me a new one.
Yeah, so most of the time, which I think is absolutely dumb and TRICARE should fix this problem, most of the time it normally takes the service member to call to make that switch. A lot of the time TRICARE doesn't listen to the spouse. They listen to the service member because it is the service member's medical. With TRICARE Select, yes, you get to choose your own PCM. Yes, you get to go to the eye doctor more. Yes, you get to go to dental more. But you're still paying copays for all three of those appointments. You're not getting away with having an appointment for free. You have to pay copays. So yeah, you can go to the dentist 7-8 times a year if you want to, but you're going to pay for that. Where with Prime, yes, you have to get your eye exam and then pay for your glasses out in town. by yourself. TRICARE doesn't cover that. But at the same time, me personally, I would rather, get the eye exam for free and then pay $21 for a pair of glasses. It's going to do the same thing that you're going to pay a eye doctor to give you. But theirs is going to be a lot more expensive. They can range from anywhere from like 21 all the way up to like 300. So I would rather pay the $21 for one pair of glasses and just have the eye care covered or the exam covered, because the exam is a hell of a lot more expensive. When it comes to dental, yeah, I think it's stupid that you can only get one cleaning a year. The rest of the time you have to pay out of fucking pocket unless it's under a certain amount, which if I remember correctly, it's either $1,500 or $1,800 that TRICARE will pay, and you have to pay the rest. So if you get a root canal, you're kind of screwed on that one. TRICARE will cover the first $1,500 to $1,800, and then you got to cover the other like $2,200 to $2,400 out of pocket, usually before they'll even do the root canal. So if you don't have that money, you're kind of fucked.
Hey listeners, before we wrap it up, I want to shout out our new vlog channel, Behind the Wave, where we share random real moments from our lives as part of this Navy journey. You'll get a front row seat to the highs, lows, and everything in between. So head over to our YouTube channel, Behind the Wave. Also, Deploy the Drama on YouTube. Check out our vlogs, like, subscribe, and stay in the loop. We drop new podcast episodes every other Friday, with vlogs sprinkled in between to keep things fresh. Oh, and don't miss out. Follow us on our socials for the latest updates. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Deploy the Drama Podcast. Hit that follow button, join the community, and let's keep the drama deploying. Now back to the show.
The next section that we're going to go to that spouses have the right to is FRG and command spouse events. So the FRG is what we call the Family Readiness Group. It is a group of spouses that get together, once a month?
Yeah, about.
About once a month to check on each other, make sure everybody's doing what, is coping well with their spouse being out to sea. And yes, I will say I am saying spouse and not wife, because there are females in the military too who have husbands. And then you have husbands who have husbands. So
Wives who have-
or wives who have wives. So I'm just saying spouse to cover all of it. It's easier. And I'm not getting a lot of hate for saying things. FRGs, right? Yeah, that's what we're on. So the FRG is a really great and very, 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 very useful tool, as long as they're not fucking pricks. There are a lot of military spouses out there who wear their spouse's rank, and I think it is dumb. You didn't fucking earn that. You didn't sweat, bleed, almost fucking die, cry to get that fucking rank. Your service member did. So
Now, I will say that, I've been blessed to have wonderful FRGs. Wonderful FRGs. So if you have a good FRG, you'll be in the know for everything. But like, Buddy said, if it's a shitty FRG, you ain't gonna know shit.
When it comes to like the command spouse events, there are times that the command will put on like an FRG party or a party just for the spouses to give them some time to relax, or they'll do a command party and invite the spouses as well, not just the service members, which I think we went to the Christmas party 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. So I know that the FRG has like little days as well. There was most of the time, we would make it kid friendly, kid appropriate, stuff like that. But right before our men came home, this was when we lived back in Washington. Right before our sailors came home, we did a day where kids were not allowed. And it was an evening. We got to drink some wine or drink a few beers, whatever your thing was. And we got to make little, welcome signs for the front door. And that was absolutely amazing. And I think that all spouses should at least, have an FRG that does at least that at least once a deployment.
Absolutely. Having a group of people that are going through the same thing is really beneficial into helping you cope with it, especially if you have like the more senior spouses that are willing to help you. It makes it a hell of a lot easier to go through and do the deployment by yourself, especially if you are living, 1,300 miles away from your family, or further if you live in certain countries or states. It's a lot more beneficial to have that support system sitting there
Oh, absolutely.
that you can use. I will say the next point, I believe, should actually be under delusional, not right, because it is not the spouse's right to have access to the service member's LES. That is for the service member and the service member only, unless the service member prints it out and gives it to their spouse. The spouse has no access to it.
For us
Yes, I will explain what LES stands for. LES stands for Leave and Earnings Statement. It tells us how much leave we have, how much we've used. It also tells us how much we are making, which again, most spouses don't have access to that.
And personally, I don't think we should. I mean, if you are in a healthy, stable relationship with your spouse, like your spouse should be able to be like, hey, babe, this is how much we're making. This is how much, so we can like budget and stuff like that. Or like, hey, I have this many days of leave. I know that we've been planning a vacation. I'm going to go ahead and put X amount of days in for leave. It is not the spouse's business. It is the service member's business, point blank period.
Yes, because there are a lot of things that are on the LES. Yes, my wife can look at my LES when I print them off and show her.
But God knows that I don't understand a damn thing that thing reads.
I will also pull it up and sometimes show her too, just depending on what's going on. Just because she also needs to know when it comes to certain things. But there are a lot of things that show up on the LES that is for the service member and only the service member. But I can get into the LES a hell of a lot more, but I'm not going to deep dive into the LES.
And all honesty, all you need to know is it's delusional for the spouse to believe that it is their right to see it, when in all reality, it's not our business. It's our sailors' business, and they will let us know if and when they see fit.
So when it comes to emergency contacts, that is also another thing that is in that gray area. Yes, if you are married, your spouse should be your emergency contact. They should be the first person that anyone calls. However, you do, or you can, it's up to you. You can, as a service member, ask your spouse what who else they want as an emergency contact. Like me, I completely changed my emergency contacts like last year.
Mm-hmm.
I switched it completely from my family to hers because I don't talk to my family. And there's a reason I don't talk to my family, and we're not going to deep dive into that either. Just know that I changed my emergency contact. Did I ask my wife? No, because it's not really up to her who I have as my emergency contact, as long as she knows that she is my first emergency contact. That way, if I'm at work and something happens to me, she knows that she will get that phone call. Your emergency contact is 110% on the service member. It is not on the spouse.
Again, it's not the spouse's choice on who your sailor's emergency contact is. That is their decision, not ours.
Exactly.
Fucking delusional.
But it is on that gray line because you can ask. Your service member can ask you who they want to be your emergency contact, and then it's up to the service member if they put that person or not.
Yep.
So we're going to move to the Delulu side. The side of what spouses don't have access to. Because there's a lot of spouses who think they have access to fucking everything. and they don't. So like a service member's evals, NJPs, or counseling chits. If you don't know what an NJP is, it is non-judiciary punishment. It's what it stands for. It's basically us standing in front of a board of chiefs and listening to what the chiefs say. Do we really get a say in what goes on in that NJP? No, not really. Hell. Hurt. When it comes to our evals, our spouses do not need to know what our evals read. Can we show them? Yes. But again, that is the service member's choice. If he wants to show them, or she wants to show them, or they want to show them, that is up to them. That is not up to the spouse. The spouse does not have to know what the eval looks like.
It's not our business. If our sailor wants to show us, great. If not, great. And stop being fucking delusional. Stop thinking you're goddamn queen or king of this goddamn fucking world and deal with it.
And I actually messed up NJP. NJP is captain's mast. Yeah, NJP is captain's mast. I messed that up. That's my fault. So when it comes to captain's mast, the only thing that the spouse needs to know is that whether or not they're losing money or rank. Your spouse does not need to know what happened or what was said. It just, all they need to know is that they're losing money and they need to budget better for the next couple of months or the full month that they are not going to get paid. And counseling chits are definitely not a spouse's need to know. They don't need to have access to those either. That is between the service member and their chain of command. We have like 3 more things that we're going to talk about, and they're going to be very brief and short because they don't really need an explanation. Spouses do not have power to attend or speak at official command meetings. If it is a command meeting, the only person that should be speaking to the command is the service member. And only the service member, because we're the only ones that understand what is going on. We're the only ones that have the need to know of what is going on.
Don't get me wrong. Their higher up or whoever it may be may say hello. And you just say, hey, how you doing? And go about your day.
Yeah, you don't want to bring up your personal business. Give that to your service member. Your service member will bring that up. Spouses also cannot restrict base access for other military personnel. That is not a fucking thing. You cannot tell somebody that they're not allowed on base because you said so. That's not a thing.
If they have a base ID, they're allowed on base unless the base says otherwise.
Or they're shady as fuck and then you can't restrict their access. The base has to do so. And if you feel like somebody is following you, tell the fucking guard. The guard will make sure it stops.
Or here's a little fun fact. If you think somebody's following you or you see somebody following you, give the gate guard your base ID upside down.
I will say yes, that is an option. However, that is not taught to a lot of the base guards. It is taught to MAs. So if there's not an MA standing there, you're more than likely not going to understand it. And a lot of the time that is taught to MAs for service members, not for the spouses.
Has worked for service or for spouses though.
It has, yes. In the past, it definitely has worked. Also, as a spouse, you cannot enforce the UCMJ or military policy. And if you don't know what the UCMJ is Uniform Code of Military Justice. It is our literal law. Yes, we have to follow state and federal laws too, but we have to follow that one a little bit more. And military policy is literally our nav admins. A spouse cannot fucking tell you that you are out of regs because you're not following that nav admin. It's just not a thing.
And that's obvious. I will say that Buddy and I did a little research and we found a fact for y'all.
According to the DoD and JAG guidelines, military spouses are not part of the chain of command and cannot represent the service member in any official capacity without written authorization, i.e., POAs, power of attorneys. However, with this fact, I will disclose a little bit more for this one. Even with a power of attorney, the only thing you can do is sign out or move stuff and pick hotels. You cannot sign for their government travel card. You cannot sign for their orders. You cannot sign for anything else. You can only sign for the move.
Okay, y'all, look, your dependent ID gets you on base, yes, but it does not get you into Chief's mess. Easy as that.
Since earlier, before I started our whole rant about what they do and do not have access to, I did bring up the fact that we have a lot of entitled spouses.
Yeah, we do.
Well, some real scenarios we're going to get into today. There are spouses trying to bar junior sailors from talking to their man.
Which is fucking retarded.
If you're going to do it, don't fucking use your husband's rank. That's not a thing. If your husband's junior sailor wants to talk to your husband, most of the time, it's probably about work or they're into your husband. It is up to your husband or spouse to tell that person to go the fuck away and stop flirting with him. That is not your fucking job. Milsos demanding to attend quarters, trainings, or debriefs. Also, not your fucking problem. A lot of our quarters, we put out classified information. A lot of our trainings, there's classified information. 98.8% of debriefs is all classified.
And again, I will reiterate, not the spouse's business.
Facebook spouse moderators threatening to report sailor to sailor's commands. That is also really dumb. However, it happens a lot. And I mean a lot. Actually, not too long ago, I actually made a post on Facebook. I misworded it. And my CMC's wife told my CMC about it. And then I had to go sit in the CMC's office and have an hour and a half conversation about how I should reword my posts when I post them on Facebook. So that's a real thing. Just be very fucking careful if you're posting shit on Facebook. Don't talk about the fucking military. FRG chairs sending emails like they're the LPOs is 110% a thing. I can't tell you how many people have told me in the last, I don't know, fucking 6 months that their FRG is telling them that they have to do things in order for their spouse to come home. And that's not a fucking thing. You have no pull whatsoever. Your FRG chair means nothing to the Navy. And it means something to the spouses, but not the Navy. Another example for you. In 2021, a Navy command in Norfolk had to issue a formal no contact order to a spouse who was harassing junior enlisted members online and showing up at the barracks uninvited. It has resulted in a base-wide policy review. So in other words, a spouse tried to do something stupid.
They fucked around and they found out.
Yeah.
Of course.
Now we're going to talk about command interference and why it's a fucking problem. So the consequences of a MILSO overreach does mess with morale. It also plays a huge role in favoritism. If your spouse is telling your chief that they're doing fuck games and they need to treat your fucking service member better, 9 times out of fucking 10, that chief is going to be harder on your service member because you fucking said something. Don't fucking say anything. Just be there for your spouse. That's all they fucking need is your comfort. Leave it that way. Sailors getting punished or passed over due to spouse drama is also a fucking thing. Happens all the time. People are constantly getting in trouble, and I will put this out here, and I cannot stress it enough. What you do as a fucking spouse directly reflects on your service member. So if you go out in town and get plastered, and then you go pick a fight with some random ass fucking dude or random ass chick and get your fucking ass beat, and then the command finds out about it, your fucking spouse is going to know about it. So you might want to tell your spouse. However, if once the command finds out about it, if they even hear a rumor that your spouse was involved, your spouse is getting in trouble for it. So be very fucking mindful of what you do in and around base. Do not travel 6 hours away from base and do the same fucking thing. The command's going to find out about it.
Watch your P's and Q's, dot your I's, cross your T's.
Yes.
I know for a damn fact we are all adults. Nobody wants the high school drama bullshit anymore.
Well,
Be adults.
Wow.
Take care of your kids. I understand that, every person deserves, a girl's day or a guy's day, whatever it is. But be mindful that your service member is in the service and what you do reflects on them.
Commands are starting to enforce formally ban or restrict spouses from events. It has happened multiple different times. There was a Navy ball in Hawaii when I was stationed there that it was for only service members because the spouses had too much drama and the commands didn't want them there.
There is no reason for spouses to have drama. If you got an issue with me, great. That's on you. Be a grown-up. Be an adult. Act like one. Let it go in one ear, right out the another. Don't cause issues. Don't cause drama. Easy as that.
We're going to give you a lovely statistic here. In 2022, a Navy Ombudsman survey came out. 17% of the responding commands reported dealing with a spouse who oversteps and are required to have command level intervention.
We know a few of those.
I know a lot of those. I can't name them, but I know a lot of them.
So when leadership has to have a meeting about someone's spouse, just know that we're already in the fucking danger zone. It's easy as that.
Yeah, if your leadership has to have a conversation with if your service member's leadership has to have a conversation with you about your spouse because they're doing stupid shit, 9 times out of 10, that command is going to tell you to get a fucking divorce because they're causing too much drama. And drama is one thing that we do not stand for in the Navy.
I know one family who has, or now they are a family, who their spouse was causing a whole lot of drama and they told the service member, divorce them. It's not going to get any better. It's all drama. It's going to end up getting you in trouble in the long run.
Absolutely. Support your service member. Volunteer, show up, bring the fucking cookies or brownies. But remember, wearing your spouse's ring does not mean you wear their ring. Keep it respectful, keep it real. And for the love of the Navy, stay off the barracks page if you're not on the roster.
On the roster.
All right, y'all, that's it from me. Another week of hot takes, hard truths, and military madness.
Thanks for listening to Deploy the Drama. Subscribe, share, and slide into the DMs if you got a story that needs to be surfaced. Until next time, stay salty, stay shady, and stay in your own chain of command. Yay!
You know the word, stay in your motherfucking lane.
You know there's 3 places that you can stay? You can stay salty, stay shady, and stay in your fucking lane.